Painting is an amazing way to release inner creativity. And when there is also a deep passion and understanding of painting and artwork and creativity, then this can lead to some amazing work. Gloria O'Doherty is a lady who lives in Cork City who for many years, since her early childhood, has been developing this knowledge and passion for artwork through numerous paintings and other creative works. She has spent years not only passing this passion and skill on to her own children, but also to those with special needs in her community. Her work over the years has led her to produce numerous paintings for which there is a story behind each. Gloria joins me now to share more about her life and her passion for painting. Gloria, thank you so much for taking time to chat to me today.
Thank you for having me on this beautiful day. The sun is shining outside as well, so extra bonus.
That's good. Gloria, tell us a bit about yourself, your background, where you come from originally. Is that a true Cork accent, or perhaps could I be so bold as to say, are you a blow-in?
I'm a blowing over the bridge from Kerry, originally Flarney, come to Kerry, so yeah.
Okay. How long have
I'm
you been
married
living in Cork?
I moved here at 17, 18, 87, 88,
Okay.
and I'm still here, so I'm married a Cobh man, so.
Okay. Now, this is probably going to be the one most important questions of the whole interview. So I'll just make sure you get this one right, Gloria. If Cork is playing Kerry in the All-Ireland final, who would you be shouting for?
Kerry.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. You didn't even hesitate there. And what does your
No,
husband think of that, can I ask?
he's well used to it. And when the kids were younger, they all wore Kerry jerseys as well, because I did most of the work. I carried them, so I get to choose.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to
Yeah.
look at it. Tell me your connection today. We're going to speak about your art, some fantastic paintings too. We'll have a look through some in a few minutes. But first of all, tell us about your own background. How did you actually start? How did you get into artwork? How did you first develop this love for art?
Well, I've always liked art since I was a very young child, and I'm always experimenting. And I think I went through school literally drawing rather than reading or writing, as I explained before to you. With dyslexia, it's quite difficult. So I always found art the most interesting way of expressing myself. The teacher said that with the sky had to be blue and the trees had to be green and the grass had to be green and brown or whatever. And I said no, that the sky was different colours out there. There was oranges and reds and blues. And she said, no, there isn't. And I said, yes, there is. If you look out. And she said, well, we're all doing the same painting, so you have to do that. And I just said no. So I just went over and and I started making my own colours. And she wasn't too impressed because uh, when you're a child, they give you the six primary colour, basic colours. They give you red, yellow, white, probably black and blue maybe. And fairly quickly I worked out that if you mix yellow and blue together, you got a green. And if you mix the yellow with the red, you got an orange. And that was that was my impression of the world anyway at 4 or 5.
It's a
She
great to
wasn't
see
impressed by it.
at such a young age, even though your teacher mightn't have been impressed, at such a
No.
young age, you obviously had a gift for developing, for exploring, for creativity. How
Mm.
did you actually, how did it actually work throughout your, just to tell us more about yourself? Tell us about this passion you have for creativity. Tell us more about this. How does this play out in day-to-day life, particularly as a young child, as a teenager?
Well, as a teenager, I spent my time down the back of the class looking out the window daydreaming. Wasn't very interested in school. We were next to a boys' school, so that was a lot of my interest looking out the window as well. The passing the kids in and out and talking and started drawing notes and stuff. I did school, but I didn't like it. I didn't like school, to be honest. It wasn't for me. I did my leaving cert and I went through how would you say, the process, but I just felt the only thing that I enjoyed was art class. So all I did was art in school, and I had a lot of friends outside of different youth clubs and stuff, and that was a huge turning for me because they got us to be ourselves and to do if I like painting, somebody else like rock climbing, somebody else like cycling. Well, they encouraged us to go after our own personality and pursuits.
In terms of the actual painting, then, when did you actually discover this is what you wanted to do? This is your thing?
Well, I was always drawing and sketching, and I always loved it. But I think when I kind of got to 17, 18, I applied for child psychology, and there was art in it, and that fascinated me. And I was always painting and sketching. And in school, I forgot to say, in fifth class, a teacher entered me into an art competition, and I won it, I was very surprised at because at school I wasn't, how would you say, very academic. So the fact that I won a painting for the school and for Kerry was amazing at that age. So that my parents used to give me art sets for Christmas, which I loved. And then as I got to 19, I discovered there was a thing called art therapy or play therapy with children. But I couldn't complete the course, sadly, because of health issues. My hip went. But I that gave me down a route saying, oh, now I can start. There's actually something out there that I like doing, and I can combine children and art together. So that's where I kind of got it.
You'll have to forgive me now. My knowledge of paints, of styles, of arts, and everything isn't very advanced. You'll have to tell me. There's oil painting, there's water based, there's acrylic, there's everything. Just run through the different types of paint, the different types of approach. Maybe tell us about this.
Well, when I learned a lot more when I went back I went to art college then, art and design in Cobh. There was a thing called acrylics. It was art crafts and design, and we learned about acrylics, watercolors, and paints. And I kind of knew about them anyway, but we went to a course where we learned to discover all of them. And then I went through all the mediums and chose which I preferred. I painted in oils for years, but I felt they took too long to dry, and that you had to use white spirits to blend them and stuff, and that was a bit too toxic with small children in the house. So then I went to watercolors, which I didn't enjoy. So then I went to acrylics, and I now love acrylics. And now I'm mixing acrylics with clay. So that's all. It's a new combination again for me, which I'm really enjoying.
So you'll have to forgive me now. I understand oil, I understand water based. What are acrylics?
Acrylic is a mixed medium. There's almost like a form of plastic in it, if that makes any sense. So the colors would be combined. You can mix them with water. They come out, they look very like oils. But you can water them down to very thin to look like watercolors as well. But you can go really, really heavy with them. Um, to mix them to make them look really vibrant and strong, and they dry quicker. There's no toxins, there's no smells, and if I did a painting today, it could be dry tomorrow. So that's the advantage.
Okay, and
And also, yeah,
so
and I can
I can
apply.
imagine there's none of the toxicity of the oils there as well.
Yes, yes, and especially when I was wearing my family, if I was painting, it wasn't really kind of healthy to have that in the house, especially I had a child with asthma. So I was very aware of the chemicals, using them around him.
Okay, tell me about your love in terms of just. Oh, again, I just want to get an idea of where you're at yourself, who you are, what your passions, your own artwork. Have you passed? Would you do any work with your own children in terms of arts and crafts?
I did. We didn't really, they didn't, thank God they weren't really big into TE. So we would go out in nature and collect leaves and stick them on paper, and we would do arts and crafts with them. On a wet day, we would just go and get mud, and they would draw with sticks. They were just very creative children. And we would just actually go and just have fun, and we would collect stuff. It was more collages when they were younger. And I noticed at a very young age, all three of them were very good at sketching and drawing, which would be one of my weaknesses, but it's their strengths. And they're all three of them are really artistic. I'm very lucky that they're all, and they, one child in particular, well, he's an adult now, I left him paint on his wall with designs and cartoons or whatever he wanted to, because I felt that was his space and his place to exhibit. And if he didn't like it, we could always paint it over later on, which I'm sure we've done a few times. He's put new ones up, but he's chosen it, given him the choice, not me, if that
Mm,
makes sense,
it's good.
to
It's good.
express himself.
Indeed, it's good to give them the freedom to be themselves, to be creative. It's a bit like reminds me of your discussion with your teacher. You had a viewpoint of what you felt to do. That's pretty much I understand what art and creativity is about. Of course, having your idea and
Mm.
running with it instead of
Yeah,
sticking to what people tell you.
and it's a very individual thing, and it's a personal choice. It's not about anybody else. It's usually about yourself and what you want to portray and put on a canvas as well. It's great if people love it, that's a bonus, but if you enjoy doing it, well, that's the process. That's what art is about.
That's brilliant. Tell me, I want to have a look at some of your paintings now in a minute, but first of all, give us an idea of where you've been traveling as an adult now with your own family, husband, and kids, and so forth over recent years. Tell us about the work you've been doing with artwork in terms of painting and sort of creativity. Where has it been for you?
Well, I kind of took a break for a couple of years, as I explained. I had a couple of children in the house. I had my own children, who were all babies, and we were fostering children as well, and they were teenagers. So we had two different personalities, and in the house. So I kind of had to stop and take a step back and look after the children. And then I picked up a paintbrush after COVID again. Now I was always painting small bits, but nothing major. And then it just kind of took off in COVID. After COVID, I just loved it. And as I said, now they're all adults, they're all living good, healthy lives, and they're all in their own places. So now it's my time for me. So now I'm starting again with exhibitions and selling paintings, and I also go and show adults with intellectual disabilities how to paint and express themselves. And we also do work with children as well, who have Asperger's. Because I trained in special needs years ago, and I also did the art and design, and that was why I wanted to combine everything to try and help. I can't work full time, but I can volunteer and help out and do what I do. I'm doing what I love, if that makes sense. I get up in the morning and go, yes, I've got to see my gang today and get to show them how to do art. So that's my route. My husband's working away happy out and is a warehouse manager, and my adult children are all in their own lives now, and my other children who are adults as well are all happy down their own routes. So it's all about me now, my
That's
time.
good. It's great. It reminds me of the old saying that if you if you work at something you really enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life. It's about having a passion,
Yeah.
following your passion. So it's great to see you're able to do that. It's great to see you're following that passion. Tell us again. I'm really looking forward to seeing these paintings you have. But first of all, tell us about how art. You work with special needs. You mentioned about adults, mentioned about kids. What does this mean? Just speak to us about the whole aspect of drawing people out and bringing people alive using the medium of art to do this.
Yeah. Well, some of the people and the young adults I work with have difficulty verbally or visually, or they may be on the autistic spectrum, and they can't always express themselves like we can sometimes. So art helps them to express what they want to say on the canvas, and it doesn't it might mean anything to me or you, but it means so much to them because they know exactly what they want on the page. Like the only thing is the sensory can be overloading. If it's a textural thing, it may overload the person, if they may not enjoy that experience. So if they don't, back off and try something else, as I said before. But I just love what I do, and I love to see their faces light up when they've actually achieved what they want to achieve. They might want, it could be something as simple as circles, or it could be a landscape or a seascape. I ask them what they want to do, and I don't really put them in a box, and I just say, look, okay, what area do you want? Paints, color pencils, markers? They choose, and then they decide what to do, and then I just step back, and if they need my help, they'll ask, and if they don't, they won't.
Okay, let's have a look then. First of all, again, just one last question before we move to your paintings. Tell us, where is your studio? Is it at home? Is it in a studio? Where do you actually exhibit? Tell us.
I don't have a studio. I paint in the kitchen sink, or sometimes on top of the kitchen sink, or on the kitchen table, because the sink goes about. It's like a canvas. It supports the canvas, so if I drop any paint, it goes into the sink. I know that sounds, but I'm on the kitchen table. But I did have an exhibition in Cobh Library. But I basically are on my Instagram page, Glorious Art 4, letter 4, or the number 4, and then I'm on Facebook as well. But I don't have an actual studio.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of your paintings here. We'll start with this first one here.
Soul Sisters is just about two sisters who were going through a difficult time in the system, and they just reminded me of, they were so vulnerable, but at the time, there was light, and if you look at it closely, you'll see there's balloons in the far distance, and that is just, and there's the balloons represent freedom, flowing away from our past and moving on to our future. So that was Soul Sisters. I just wanted it to be colourful and bright and just celebrating the innocence of childhood.
Okay, so the next one. Tell us about
Mhm.
this.
That one is The Boat. This is one I did recently, and somebody said I should change the name to Contemporary, and because it reminded me of just a man on his own, standing out looking at the sea, not knowing where the future goes. But what I've done is a mixed medium with clay. There's seaweed, there's sand, and there's shells from Dingle Beach in it. And I did a boat, and it just represents somebody that no man is an island on their own. But even though he looks like he's standing on his own, he is. But if you look further, there's birds at the background, and there's actually people around him. But I just chose to put him that way. because I just was watching him when I was in Dingle, and I just felt he just needed that space on his own or whatever it was. So I just saw him and I just painted him.
So your next painting there, tell us about this.
That's one of my newest ones. It's a little bit unusual. It's got clay and but it's two in one. Basically it's clay mixed in, but I did a drawing underneath first. I got this idea that could you do a two in one. So I drew the image first, then I got the clay and overlayered it with the paint and the glow in the dark. And then I put the lights behind it so that it's basically there's two sides to everything, like a grieving process, good or bad, yin or yang. And I just wanted to see could you actually put some two in one pictures, and it worked out really good. So when it's white, it's all white. It looks lovely and delicate. You'll notice there's no face. There's no face for a reason. But when you put the lights on, you can see the really dark features underneath coming through. And I just wanted to try to see was that something that was possible? And it was.
Before you actually explain this next one here, tell us how you actually come up with your creative ideas. How you, when you sit at a blank canvas, how do you actually come up with your ideas for what you actually want to paint?
I don't usually go in with a focus unless it's something like that now where I have the houses of Cobh. There's a place called the Deck of Cards and a lot of tourists like it. And when I do my paintings in the stall, they ask me sometimes, oh, I'd love to buy a painting, but they're a little bit too big. Could you make me something smaller? I said, look, if I'm down. So one day I was out for a walk and I saw the houses and they looked really pretty, but I just wanted to do something different. So I made them really kind of cartoon looking. But I didn't go down with a purpose to do that. I just sketched it and then I went home and I just said, okay, let's see what happens. So I let whatever comes out on the page. I don't really direct it unless there's a specific reason now, like say the church or something that I want to draw. But if I have to draw something, then it kind of takes the goodness out of it.
Okay, tell us now about the next one.
I did that a few weeks ago. I just felt that and pushing through, it was all to do with emotional turbulence coming through a process, a grieving process that I recently had. And I was trying to work out how to do, but I sat there with a canvas and I was like, okay, I'm not sure where to go with this. So I just picked it up and it just came out.
When I'm thinking about this, I think back of the time you told that story of you're in class and your teacher says, no, the sky has to be blue. Just no, it doesn't have to. It's about creativity. It's about understanding. It's about imagining, no doubt.
It is, yeah, and it's about encouraging people to be who they are. And a lot of people have this concept that they have to be good at art, or they say, I couldn't draw a straight line. That's totally untrue. You can learn if you want to, or you can practice. But I think everybody can be an artist in their own right. It just depends where you want to go with it, or how much you want it for yourself. That's it. There's no rules or
Mhm.
regulations in my world anyway.
Okay, let's move on. This next one here. Tell us the name and tell us what it's about.
That's the storm. That's just really that one was really textured, really heavy. There was really bad weather around Cobh and we couldn't get out and we were just passing in the car. And I love stormy weather. I love clouds. I love, the different colors. And I just wanted to capture the moment of it. So that one is mixed with clay and acrylic. And I'm sure there's bits of wood in there as well that I wanted to get that kind of depth in it. So I put in a few bits of wood as well, storming in or pushing through. I know the two of them were done together within a day of each other, the one of the boat and that. They're connected.
Okay. Moving on, then we see very much a storm surrounding this lighthouse. Tell us about what's the name. Tell us the background. Tell us the idea.
That's called aloneness. And that was a process when my son had come to age and he was moving, going to Greece, and it was almost like cutting the apron strings, even though it was a process for him. You'll notice there's birds at the very top. That means he's flying. Which I was super proud of him going off to Greece and doing it. But it was about me feeling that the world's around me, that I was on my own, but I wasn't on my own. It's just every mother's feeling when their child leaves home. And I was super proud of him for getting him to that level. But at the same time, it's a very lonely place as a parent as well, but a very proud place. So that's where he was the lighthouse. And then if anything, he was flying away, but if he saw the lighthouse, and he always knew that if he needed us, look for a light or text us, that we were there. Even though he was gone, he could come back, and a lighthouse symbolizes safety. to me. And if there's a storm in the sea, that there's always a safe place to come back to.
Okay. It's a great story. It's a great to have that relationship and to be able to express that through art. So moving
Oh,
on.
Lost Souls. Lost Souls is a heavy one. It's huge. It's nearly 5 foot in width, and it's maybe 3 in length. It's about there's clay and paint, and it's about people passing through from this life to the next. But you'll notice that in it I've hidden people and reflections in the water, and it's people just trying to find their way in the world. And at the time I felt it was around just after COVID. There was a lot of fear and anxiety, and I felt a lot of people were lost now, because they were just nervous what was happening. Now there was changes their careers, their jobs, and this is why I did that one at the end of COVID. I just felt people were kind of lost to a certain point. But again, with that, there is light, and when there's actually, I put lights inside it, and when you light it, there's windows open for people to, when it's lit up, you can't see it. I can't get the lighting right at the moment. You will see that there is hope and there is light, and there's windows open for people to come to, that they're not on their own.
Okay. So we'll move on. Take this one again. The name, what is it about? Tell us all about it.
First steps, so one step at a time. That is about I got a new pair of shoes. My first pair, if anybody gets Clark shoes as a child. And I had a problem with my hip. I was born with hip dysplasia and hip disability. It's a disability which learning to walk, and I was late walker, 5 or 6. I had a lot of operations, and I had my calipers removed, and I got my first pair of shoes, and they represent the shoes. You can see one shoe is slightly larger than the other. That represents what they fixed my leg, and you can see the wallpaper in the far is home, but there's a bit of red, and that represents the surgeries I went through. So that was me, one step at a time, at 6 or 7, sitting at home out of the hospital, looking at my new shoes, proud as punch of myself.
I find it incredible for somebody, perhaps maybe you'll have to forgive me. I don't have a great understanding of artists and how people can be so creative, but I do admire the fact that you can actually incorporate different memories, different emotions into your paintings, and these come out and reflect. It seems very much as if you paint from your emotions. It's very much as if you paint from your heart.
Yeah, I do. As I said, I didn't plan to do that, but it was on my mind because I was going for surgery again. And obviously it came out that I had relearned to walk before, and I could relearn to walk again. And that was me telling myself, you did it before, you could do it again. And I did. It took me 6, 7 months to relearn to walk, but I was doing that painting why I was laid up, so that it kind of reminded me that, we always just move forward in things in life. And sometimes we question ourselves, but we shouldn't, because we're stronger than we think we are.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one here.
That's just a fun one. That's acrylic. I just had fun with that one out in the sun. Abstract. I love abstract, and it was just a happy feeling with a friend of mine. We had great fun, and we just actually just. I just had fun with it. It was just reminding me of a good fun day with her. So that was what fun felt like to me.
Okay, moving on again to the next one.
The swings and slides. That again is the same thing. It was like around just happy feeling. I love the sun. I love being out. I love life, and I love color. And I just wanted to celebrate it, having a good days, which I love. It was just a feeling on a paper. That's all, or a canvas.
So we'll take the next one here.
That's my hometown. Yeah, that represents the houses that represent the people, and then all the little colours and little strokes are in the water, reflection of people moving on. When you grow up in a small town, you get to know everybody and their little personalities and their families. And then as you get older and you go back and visit, you see slight changes that maybe if you've never left before, and all the streaks in the water are the people's personalities and how they're moving on. And it's a very positive thing, because even though the houses are still there and the personalities are there, people have moved on, and it's like a river of life flowing through, and it's a positive thing that we move on, is what I
This
was
is
trying to
your
say.
this is your hometown and take it from down in County Kerry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm guessing, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing you can take a woman out of Kerry, but you can never take Kerry out of the woman. Is that correct?
That is so correct. Yeah, so correct. Yeah. And
So,
I love my town. I miss my town. I should get down there more.
what is the name of the town?
Clarity.
Killarney. Okay, it's a beautiful town. Tell us
It
the
is.
next one here. Tell us about this.
Oh. Yeah, she took me a year to do. That's unconditional. That's about unconditional love of a mother and a child. And basically, you can see around her head there, you'll see this like crown of thorns, but it's crown of flowers I gave her for every stage that the child goes through. And with every flower, there's a thorn because as the child develops, the mother also loses a year, if you know what I mean. So it's all about unconditional love and how the mother is so protective of the child about in the world around her. That took me a full year to paint that one. So it's very big and it's very detailed.
It's a field of daisies, a field of flowers.
Yes. That was when I was sitting, I was down at Killarney and I was sitting in the grass. I think it was with my daughter, and we were just chilling out, waiting. We were on a lunch break or something. We were away for a few days, and we stayed a week, I think. And I just saw daisies, and it was just a nice experience. And it just reminded me of youth and the color, and I just wanted to capture it as a precious memory. That was
Mm.
it.
Okay. The next one reminds me, forgive me now, my knowledge of art isn't that extensive, but this almost reminds me of something from Mr. Van Gogh himself.
Yeah, I know. I love him. He's an amazing artist. I love his personality. I love what he brought into the world and what he gave us. And I love the fact that he wasn't this perfect artist that they all wanted. And I loved he also, I think, painted from his heart, was from what I get as well. I just wanted to try out, there was one of my earlier pieces trying out with clay and acrylic mixed together. And as I just happened to see flowers, and I said, I'm going to try it and see what happens. I didn't go in with the idea of doing sunflowers, but it came out that way. So it is what it is.
Okay, so then moving on, we have, what's the name of
Oh,
this?
this one is the rose between the thorns. Yeah, that one is about when we were fostering. It's and I got permission from the young person to talk about it. She was going through, obviously confidentiality, going through a really tough process, and she was with us for a very long time. And she had to go through thorns literally to get through to where she is. And now she's the most beautiful, successful person running her own business, helping other people. But like sometimes when kids come into care, they all think, yeah, you give them food, you give them clothing, but you don't think of the emotional needs these kids needs and what they've gone through and what they have to go through. And it's not just they think, oh, the child's in care now, they're fine. There's years and years and years of work that has to go through. And the first thing they said to me is, we'd like you to get you to talk, her to talk to you if you can about what happened. And I said, no. And they went, what? And I said, no, I'm not going to ask her to do anything she's not comfortable with. So she came in and she didn't speak. And I told her she didn't have to speak. So I just put paints in front of her, crayons and paper, made her hot chocolate, and I sat across and we said nothing for 2 hours and she painted and she cried as she painted. And I was like, wow, this really does say a lot. Now, the painting, the drawing doesn't matter what age she has it herself, but that was the first time that that child felt safe and in an environment to put it on paper. And I am just super proud of this young lady now, and she's running her own business, and she's now come full circle, and she's now actually, as I said, running her own business. But it's actually a hand trying to get through the thorns in life. But the fist is clawed. It's almost like, it doesn't even look like a hand. It looks like a tree. She had to really push from the roots up to get through what she went through, and that painting took me about 6 or 9 months. But I had her in mind when I was painting it, but I didn't know what I was going to paint. So
Let's it's a fascinating story. It's great to hear the passion, of course. It's great to hear how you're actually reliving, very much reliving life's experiences, life's emotions through your painting. You're actually not able to just to portray this, but to actually capture them on canvas is amazing.
yeah, because I think with dyslexia, I have dyslexia as I've explained before, and that's why I didn't enjoy school. I wasn't very good at writing stuff down, but I could put it in paper, and that's when I felt I would love to do art and children combined together. So that's why maybe it's coming through that way as well.
Okay, let's move on. We'll take a look here. There's a collage of different paintings
Yeah.
here.
That's just them all stuck together. I can see there's a lady there, reflections within. She's gone now. That was a lady looking out at the sea where there's a church, and I think that was around the time when the mother and baby home kind of situation came, and there was a lot of upset and worry. And this woman was kind of like reflecting about life and what was happening. And I don't know whatever did or didn't go on in the person's life, but I just felt I needed to portray it onto a canvas. So that's what I did. That was my concept of it.
Let's have a look here.
This is with a group I'm working with, Cobh Activation Gang in Cobh, and I go down once a week. Well, we're off now for the summer, just for an hour, and it took us 4 weeks to do it. And there are a group of adults with different areas of need, different areas of supports they need. And there's a few that were quite strong, and we did it for Culture Night for the 20th of September for them to submit, and they had so much fun. There was a particular lady, Sheila, she really took over because she chose the colours and the cutting, and there was Darren. There was Darren, there was loads of them. If I mention them all, I get in trouble, I'd be here all day. But they just really got into it and they really loved it. And each person had their own job and they picked their own colours, and it just turned out amazing. It's quite a big canvas as well. And the Cobh staff in the Cobh activation were delighted with it, and they're going to keep it then in their centre when it's finished, which is great.
As I speak to you and as we look at your paintings, Gloria, one thing that strikes me now and again is that you have an ability to bring forth an emotion, a thought, and not just an emotion, but a thought, a story into your canvas and into your paintings. It's incredible to see the gift you have, the creativity you have. Again, coming back to that story in the classroom where your teacher said, no, the sky should be blue, but she said, no, it's about creativity. It's about delivering this into a real format. It's incredible. Tell us, where can people find more information?
Now, we were looking at setting up adults classes, hopefully. That's the plan I want to do. And for adults to come in and just try all different kind of crafts and mediums. And we're doing September now, going back, we're going to just go and see what happens. I'm on Instagram at Glorious Art for You, and there's a picture of a lady's face with a red hat in Instagram. And I'm also on Facebook. But if anybody needs to talk to me, they can contact me on those if they're interested in anything really. If I can help them, I would be more than happy to help anyone.
Gloria O'Doherty, thank you so much for your time today.
And thank you for having me on as well. I really appreciate it. And thanks for listening to me.